Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance, watching distant stars slide past the main display. 6 months had gone by since they had departed Earth space on their mission to chart the outer rim. His vessel wasn't large or flashy like the warships back home. The Defiance was a research craft built with one goal: seeking out new worlds and uncovering what lay hidden in the void. Jake, now 35, had spent half his life among the stars. He grew up in the Mars colony where his father worked deep in the mines. As a child, he often gazed at the night sky, wondering about the mysteries scattered across its canvas. Now that boyhood dream had become reality. With a crew of 12 explorers who shared his passion, he traveled further than he had ever imagined. From her station, Science Officer Dr. Lisa Hayes broke the quiet. "Captain, I'm getting unusual readings ahead." Lisa had a gift for patterns, noticing what others overlooked. 2 years earlier, fresh from the Jupiter Research Institute, she had joined Jake's team. Curious, Jake stepped closer. "What kind of readings?" "Energy signatures. Nothing in our database matches. The system looks dead. 3 barren planets, no stellar activity. But something there is producing massive output." Her hands flew over the console, sharpening the scan. Chief Engineer Tony Blake lifted his head. "Could be natural. Space throws plenty of oddities we still don't get." Tony was the fixer, the man who could make a ship run with spare parts and grit. Thanks to him, the Defiance stayed strong even while cut off from repair docks for months. Jake weighed the options, then gave the order. "Set course for the system. We'll take a look." The ship shifted its path, closing on the strange signal. As distance shrank, the readings grew sharper, layered. Communications Officer Amy Foster searched the void for transmissions that might hint at intelligence. She shook her head. "Nothing. Whatever it is, it's keeping quiet." Young but keen, Amy had a sense for alien tech. Yet in 6 long months, she had detected only silence from lifeless worlds. 3 hours later, the Defiance reached the system's edge, and the crew froze at the sight. Suspended in the black was a structure so colossal it was visible across millions of miles. Clearly artificial, yet beyond anything humanity had ever forged. "My God," Lisa whispered. "It's enormous. At least 50 miles in length, 20 wide." Jake's gaze locked on the image. It seemed ancient, its surface dull gray, covered in symbols that shifted when stared at too long. "Life signs?" he asked. Amy checked carefully. None. No heat, no movement, no signals. But the energy inside is overwhelming. Jake felt the weight of history pressing in. Protocol demanded reporting alien finds to Earth Command, but they were weeks from any relay. The choice rested on him alone. "Bring us closer." "Shields up. Weapons hot." The Defiance eased toward the vast construct. More details emerged. Docking ports, entryways, some massive enough for ships larger than their own. Lisa's excitement was barely contained. "Captain, the source is deep inside. It's like a gigantic computer still running after millennia." Tony checked diagnostics. "All systems nominal. Whatever's powering it doesn't interfere with our tech." Jake made his call. "Amy, attempt contact. Maybe it knows we're here." She cycled through frequencies for long minutes, then shook her head. No response. "Either it can't hear or it won't." Jake didn't hesitate. "Then we go in." The bridge went silent. Entering unknown alien ruins was reckless, but this was exploration at its core. Lisa spoke first, her voice alight. "Captain, this could be humanity's greatest discovery." Tony, pragmatic as ever, warned, "We don't know if our suits can handle the environment. It could be toxic or nothing at all." Jake stood firm. "We came to explore. This is what we signed up for. Amy, send word to Earth Command. Tell them what we found and what we intend. If we fail, at least they'll know where to search." The transmission would take 6 weeks round trip. Until then, they were alone. Jake assembled the away team, himself, Lisa, and Tony. Amy remained behind to command the ship and be ready to retreat if needed. Suits donned and gear checked, they boarded a shuttle and launched toward a vast port. As they neared, the port flared with soft blue light, and its immense doors slowly parted, an invitation. "It knows we're here," Lisa breathed. Jake guided the shuttle inside, entering a cavernous chamber lit with alien machinery and glowing panels. Behind them, the doors sealed, but instruments confirmed an atmosphere safe to breathe. Humanity had just touched an alien legacy, even if its creators were long gone. What lay ahead would set Earth on a collision path with the galaxy's mightiest force. But at that instant, standing in a forgotten docking bay light years from home, Jake felt only the pure thrill of discovery, which had driven him to the stars in the first place. Jake Morrison strode out of the shuttle and onto the deck of the alien structure. The metal beneath his feet felt solid and real, yet the air around him hummed with energy he could not understand. Dr. Lisa Hayes followed close behind, her scanner already working to analyze everything around them. The chamber they had entered was enormous. The ceiling stretched up into darkness above their heads, and strange machines lined the walls like sleeping giants. Soft blue lights pulsed along pathways in the floor, leading deeper into the structure. "The atmosphere is breathable," Tony Blake said as he checked his instruments. "Temperature is perfect for humans. It's like this place was built for us." Dr. Hayes shook her head in wonder. "More likely it can adjust itself to any species which enters. Look at these readings. The entire structure is alive in some way, not biological but definitely intelligent." They followed the lit pathway deeper into the alien structure. The corridors were wide enough for vehicles to pass through, and the walls were covered with symbols which seemed to glow brighter as they approached. Jake felt like he was walking through the belly of some vast sleeping creature. After 20 minutes of walking, they reached what appeared to be a central chamber. The room was circular and filled with floating screens which showed star maps and data streams. In the center stood a pedestal with a crystal device that pulsed with the same blue light as everything else. Dr. Hayes approached the crystal carefully. "Captain, this appears to be some kind of data storage system. The amount of information contained here is beyond anything we've ever seen." Jake watched as Lisa connected her portable scanner to the crystal device. Immediately, floating screens around them came to life with images and text in languages no human had ever seen before. "My God," Lisa whispered. "It's a complete star chart of this entire sector of the galaxy. Every inhabited world, every trade route, every major civilization. This is a map of everything." Tony was studying the walls where new panels had begun to glow. "Look at this. Technical specifications for weapons, ships, defensive systems. Whoever built this place had technology far beyond anything we know." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "How old is this place?" Dr. Hayes worked frantically with her equipment. "Based on the energy decay patterns, I'd estimate at least 50,000 years, maybe more. This civilization was ancient when humanity was still learning to make fire." As they explored the data repository, none of them noticed the small probe which had detached itself from the structure and was now speeding away into deep space. The probe carried with it detailed scans of the human shuttle, the Defiance, and everything it had observed about these new visitors. 3 days passed as Jake's team worked to download and study the alien data. They learned that the galaxy was far more crowded than Earth had ever imagined. Dozens of species controlled vast empires, and the space around Earth was considered frontier territory by most galactic powers. The probe reached its destination at a massive space station orbiting the home world of the Zephyrian Collective. Admiral Kethvar of the Collective Fleet studied the probe's data with growing anger. The Collective had claimed this sector of space for over 3,000 years, and no primitive species was allowed to access ancient technology without permission. Admiral Kethvar was a veteran warrior who had conquered 12 star systems for the Collective. His species, the Zephyrins, believed that strength was the only law that mattered in the galaxy. They had built their empire by crushing anyone who opposed them, and they were not about to let a handful of humans change that. The Admiral called a meeting of the Collective High Command. 12 different alien species were represented, each one more advanced than humanity. The Crystalliner could manipulate energy with their minds. The cybernetic nexus had replaced most of their biological parts with machines. The brutal crown lived only for war and conquest. "These humans have violated sacred law," Admiral Kethvar announced to the assembled commanders. "They have entered a restricted site and stolen ancient knowledge that belongs to the Collective." Commander Velnash of the Veltar spoke with a voice like breaking glass. "What do we know of this species? Are they a threat?" "They are primitives," the Admiral replied. "They achieved faster-than-light travel only 100 years ago. Their longest space journey before this was to the edge of their own solar system. They have no military worth mentioning and no allies among the established powers. General Krex of the Kran warriors slammed his armored fist on the table. Then we crush them quickly and take back what they have stolen. No mercy for thieves. Admiral Kethar smiled with anticipation. I propose we send a message these humans will never forget. Tar charts, yet also complete dossiers on armaments and defensive arrays that might transform human technology. Captain, Lisa said while she worked the crystal interface, I think I can adapt some of these systems to our ship. Power demands are enormous, yet the Defiance may manage the modifications. Tony studied the specs in amazement. This technology is so far advanced I can hardly grasp its operation. If we implemented even a portion, we'd gain capabilities beyond anything in known space. Jake knew they were treading a perilous path. Are we talking armaments here? Dr. Hayes nodded slowly. Among other things, yes, defensive systems that could render a ship nearly invulnerable. Weapons that function on principles we lack terms for. The builders of this place were preparing for an ultimate conflict. What happened to them? Jake asked. Lisa's face darkened. I'm still trying to determine that. The data implies they faced a horrific threat demanding ever more desperate steps. But records stopped suddenly around 45,000 years ago. Amy Foster's voice crackled over their communicator from the Defiance. Captain, we're detecting a massive fleet inbound, 847 ships by my count. They'll arrive in 6 hours. Jake felt his stomach drop. Are they answering? I've tried every frequency. They are not responding. Captain, those vessels are armed for war. We're in serious trouble. Admiral Keith Var's Armada had come to mete out collective justice. 847 warships versus a lone human research craft. The Admiral was sure this would be the shortest battle in galactic history. Jake Morrison and his crew had 6 hours to choose. Flee or stand and fight. But with Dr. Hayes immersed in the alien systems and Tony already beginning ship modifications, escape might no longer be viable. The galaxy was about to discover what occurs when you menace a human vessel that holds access to weapons from the dawn of civilization. Jake Morrison raced back to the Defiance with Dr. Hayes and Tony Blake at his side. 6 hours was scant time to prepare for combat against 800 ships, but it was all they possessed. The alien structure's corridors felt interminable as they hurried toward their shuttle. Can we actually modify our systems in time? Jake asked while running. Dr. Hayes hugged her data scanner to her chest. The fundamentals, yes, but we're meddling with tech we barely comprehend. No guarantee it will function correctly. Tony was already running through engineering problems. I'll have to reroute power from life support and navigation. We may forfeit heat or artificial gravity during combat. They boarded the shuttle and returned to the Defiance at top speed. Amy Foster met them in the docking bay, her face grim. The fleet draws nearer, Captain. I've identified vessels from at least a dozen species. This is not a single enemy, it's an entire alliance massing against us. Jake nodded and strode to the bridge. Amy, keep attempting comms. Maybe we can negotiate. I've tried for 2 hours, Captain. They won't negotiate. Dr. Hayes went directly to the main computer and began uploading the alien archive. The ship's processors started analyzing millennia of advanced tech in minutes. Warning lights stuttered as the computer strained to process data far beyond its usual capacity. Tony vanished into engineering with a dozen technicians. They tore out standard ship systems and fitted alterations drawn from alien schematics. Sparks flew as they frantically rewired the Defiance's power grid. Captain? Dr. Hayes called from her station. I've found something. The aliens term it a reality distortion field. It bends space and time, creating localized pockets where physical laws twist. In those zones, trajectories curve unexpectedly, energy behaves unpredictably, and conventional sensors fail. If harnessed as a defense, it could render a ship untouchable. As an offense, it could tear apart enemy formations by warping incoming projectiles and collapsing space across a target. Understanding this alone could change naval warfare forever, but it also carries catastrophic risks if misapplied or triggered accidentally, including catastrophic chain reactions. Indeed. Around the hull to divert hostile fire. Jake examined the panel that displayed the retrofit requirements. What are the power demands? Everything we possess, and then some? We'll need to shut down all non-essential systems. No lights, no heating, only minimal life support. Amy glanced up from the comms console, excitement bright in her voice. "Captain, a transmission from the alien Armada. They're sending a message." The main screen wavered and resolved into the face of Admiral Cathar. The Zephyrian's features were keen and predatory, yellow eyes glowing as if peering through the lens. "Human vessel. You have broken sacred law by accessing forbidden relics without permission. I am Admiral Cathar of the Collective Fleet. Surrender immediately and prepare for boarding." Jake stepped before the camera. "Admiral, we are explorers, not thieves. We mean no harm to you or your people." "Intent is irrelevant," the Admiral said icily. "You have taken knowledge that belongs to the Collective. Surrender now to face trial. Refuse, and you will be destroyed." Jake scanned his bridge, seeing the crew he had led through 6 months of peaceful research. They were scientists, engineers, not soldiers, yet human beings do not yield when threatened. "Admiral, we decline your proposal. We assert our right of free passage through neutral space." Surprise flickered across Cathar's face. "You would challenge 800 ships with one small vessel. Your species is either extraordinarily brave or utterly foolish." Jake's smile was grim. "Admiral, you assembled an armada to confront a single ship. That reveals more about your dread of what humanity might become than it does about us. Perhaps you should have sent more." The Admiral's image vanished as he cut the link. Jake turned to his crew, determination burning in his eyes. "Dr. Hayes, status on modifications?" 2 hours minimum. "Systems integration is brutally complex. Tony, can the ship endure the power load?" Tony's voice crackled from the engine room. "I'm running everything past safe margins. Captain, if this fails, we'll lose main power and be sitting ducks." Jake made a decision that would echo across the stars. "Do it. Modify the vessel for the next 2 hours." The crew of the Defiance labored as if their lives depended on it. Because they did. Dr. Hayes fed alien schematics into the computer, poring over manuals that described weapons able to rend space itself. Tony and his engineers reconstructed the power core using principles human science had not dreamed. Amy tracked the Armada and kept the updates flowing. 4 hours until they arrive, Captain. Lead ships forming attack vectors." Jake watched his teamwork, a mix of pride and dread swelling inside him. They were attempting something unprecedented, facing an entire alien armada with technology they scarcely understood. "Modifications complete," Dr. Hayes announced. "Reality distortion field is online. Weapons are charged and ready." Tony appeared on the bridge, smeared with grease and exhausted. "Captain, the ship is unrecognizable. The power surges would have incinerated our old systems. We're operating on alien principles now." Jake focused on the main display where the Collective Fleet loomed across space like a wall of doom. 847 ships arrayed against one. "All stations report ready," Amy said. Jake slid into the captain's chair. "Take us out of the dock. Let's show what humans do when pushed to the edge." The Defiance slid free of the ancient structure, and the enemy fleet opened fire at once. Thousands of beams and missiles arced toward the tiny human vessel. It should have been over in moments. Then the impossible happened. Every shot that should have struck the Defiance bent aside like water around a stone. The reality distortion field warped space, forming a bubble where ordinary physics did not hold. Admiral Cathar watched from his flagship, stunned. "What manner of device is that?" "Our prime ordnance has no effect." Jake Morrison grinned as he watched enemy fire curve harmlessly away. "Show them what we recovered in that ancient archive." "Fire everything!" The Defiance's reply was swift and merciless. Beams of concentrated annihilation lashed out from the retrofitted human ship, and wherever they contacted enemy hulls, collective vessels simply ceased to exist. Not crippled, not wrecked, but erased from reality as if they had never been. In the first minute, 23 enemy ships vanished into nothingness. Admiral Cathar realized the hunter had become the hunted. He stood frozen on his bridge as another dozen ships winked out. The impossible unfolded before him. One small human craft systematically unmaking the most powerful armada the Collective had ever marshaled. "Admiral, we're losing cohesion," his tactical officer shouted. "Our formation is breaking. Ships are attempting to flee." Cathar did not blame them. In 10 minutes of combat, the humans had erased 67 ships from existence. His meticulously planned attack had dissolved into chaos as captains scrambled to escape weapons they did not comprehend. "All units execute scatter pattern 7, the Admiral ordered. "Avoid direct engagement with the human vessel. Employ long-range bombardment." Even as he spoke, Cathar knew it was futile. The human ship moved through space as if swimming through a current rather than flying, its distortion field rendering conventional tactics impotent. On the Defiance, Jake Morrison watched enemy vectors fracture and command channels erupt with alarm. Console operators shouted ranges and bearing changes. Fingers flew over keyboards, eyes reflecting inbound fire. Amy tracked fleeing captains and directed countermeasures while Lisa tweaked alien algorithms to tighten the distortion bubble. In engineering, Tony barked orders as his team balanced surges and rerouted capacitors, sweat and grease on every brow. Around them, the void filled with shards of obliterated hulls and glowing wreckage. Even amid the chaos, there was a grim exhilaration.